Hey guys, Christian the Crusader Shriver here, back with you again. So this is gonna be a review I've been asked about constantly, and I've talked about as well for quite a while actually. So this is kind of a very rough-ended video for me. This is not my usual stuff, and I'll put like B-roll clips as well in this, so that way you guys can see what I'm doing. But as you can see, I've got not only a brand new shifter, I have a little button box here, and my wheel has all been hooked up. But I'm also sitting in this bad boy right here, the Six Sigma Sim Racing 6S-80. So what this is a 60 by 80 cockpit. This whole rig itself actually is designed up and manufactured by the folks at Six Sigma Sim Racing. And what it is an aluminum profile rig with opening slots and holes that you can put everything into for your seat, for your pedals, your bass, your shifter, and of course any other components or compartments you want. Designed more for the highly enthusiast that also wants to have more options when it comes to updating and making stuff for their rig. So this is honestly probably one of the best buys you can get for that kind of scenario and that kind of design if you're looking into getting a sim rig. So why exactly did I go with Six Sigma Sim Racing? Well, there's a couple things. The first thing is the price. Compared to, like, say, Track Racer, who prices their stuff out accordingly, theirs is roughly about $50 to $100 more, and not including the tracking expenses as well from shipping it across the pond. Whereas this is built and made and manufactured in Canada / North America, so living in the United States, for me, this is a lot easier to buy and a lot easier for me to get around. So the reason why I went with this rig specifically was I needed something that was going to be able to work around the Placey Challenge. Now, for those that don't know, I had made plenty of videos on the Placey Challenge, and I absolutely loved that thing. It's a great rig, great thing to have for starting out. But it was time for a change, and also I really, really, really wanted a shifter. So, and I'm glad I did, because that's made things a lot more fun and interesting, and I'll show you right on the footage here in just a moment. But um, the biggest thing that I'm going to tell you guys is, yes, I will be doing a review on the shifter, and I'll also be doing a review on the little button box I've got. My friends at D-Dub Button Boxes made that up and made it for an incredibly good price. I'll give a review of them in just a little while. But the thing is with this rig is that this is bolted down to a T, and it does not move. And again, it's made because we're looking at trying to get no flex, no vibrations felt inside your rig and everything, and to give you the most that you can get for all your equipment and all that and then some. Why is that though? Because though, you got to remember something. When you're driving we're driving 5 Newton meters to 8 to 15, 10, 11, 12, 16, whatever they're doing these days. Logitech's and Thrustmaster have now entered in the market. I'll give my thoughts on direct drives in our video, but the whole plan and market was that they wanted to really get a good, solid base, solid end for this rig and for everything else. So, as you can see right here in the footage I'm presenting as well, and I've probably already showed you this a few times, but basically this is literally designed and accumulating a very strong base across the plan, across the part here, that I need to hold up for what I'm using and what I'm being worked with, while at the same time having the confidence to just wheel and hammer and put it up as high as I want and use it at full extent. And this rig and this base does it absolutely amazingly compared to anything else I've ever used. And I've been in a lot of cockpits. I've even been in one of my friends' that was designed with a computer chair that he forcibly got that thing to have no flexors, had all stiffness, and his pedal deck was just like not even going to move the way he's got it. But when I got into this thing, it honestly was just out of the gate a sign of greatness. For the price, again, this thing was only like, the rig itself is only around like $411 right now at the time I'm making this video, and even then Six Sigma Sim Racing has had it a little lower at times, to where actually Black Friday came around, I got it then, and it was beyond my belief the best part of buying for the sim racing hobby that I do, because this is literally the thing I needed. Now the chair, though, there is a little bit of a story there. Now the chairs you see, you may have first seen me on the streaming end. I had used the bucket seat, which is way over there somewhere. I still have it, but it the problem with it is, and it's something that is not my fault. When you buy these seats, you need to make sure you got the measurements down, you got everything set, and Six Sigma does a good job at least showing you the measurements of all these seats and how they are. I'm 6'1" and I'm a big guy, so I obviously thought I would be okay with the bucket seat, and it is. It's a great seat. I'm not going to take anything away from Six Sigma right there. You guys need to understand something. It's a dang good seat. A very good seat. But for a big guy like me, and this is someone if you're 6'1" or if you're kind of almost in that 220 pound category, be aware that you're going to be restricted a little bit on how your shoulders are and where your head is, because my shoulders are literally right against the shoulder plates that actually kind of cream in and kind of push you forward, versus what this recline seat is, which is more wide open, better for my shoulders. So that's the reason I have this, and ever since I got this, I've gotten finally used to it, and I've finally got all the kinks out, which I'll get into that kind of in a minute with the cons of this in just a minute. But this is all pros I'm talking about here, which you'll understand. So, in hindsight, what is the big push here? What is going to be the big thing to watch out for? Well, the biggest thing is if you are in the market to get direct drive, say a Fanatec CSL direct drive, a Moza R9, R5, any of them, even the SimiCube Minis, Sim Magic Alphas, and all them, you've got options now, and you've got an extremely good base to really use with. And I'm using the actual flat base that I actually pre-ordered with it. I did not want the base that came with that. I wanted something a little different, so I went with this base, and I'm really glad I did because it's really helped me a lot to keep this thing more stable and structured. I think even Sim Racing Garage made a great point about that, and that's the reason why I went with that. So thank you again to Barry for that. The pedal deck itself, it always is standard. And these V3 pedals I don't have load cells. I have load cell V3s, obviously, as you know, but because that's what they're made as. But I don't have the brake performance kit, is what I'm trying to say. And even then, I feel no flex with that. And honestly, people are going to get on me about this Recline seat as well. I'll get at it in a second. But with these V3 pedals, they handle this rig beautifully. I feel no flex. I feel so much more confident than I did with my Play Seat Challenge, which it did have a flex in there. When I would push back, I could feel the seat actually push all the way back in. And that was a big problem for me. So I'm glad that had gotten resolved and that got taken care of with this, obviously, as base. Because what I paid for it, it should be doing that, honestly. But I'm glad it did. And then the final thing I'll tell you guys is everyone will always say, okay, well, what about this recline seat? Why do you have a recline seat versus the bucket seat? The bucket seat won't have any flex, right? Well, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I heard the stories about these things. I don't know what y'all are talking about. This thing is much stiffer, I will say, compared to probably other recline seats. And I will say one negative before I get into those cons is it is a little bit tighter than the bucket seat for how I am. I have like maybe enough room just to fit me in, and that's it. So admittedly, that is kind of a problem. And I even asked Six Sigma if they can make a bigger seat sometime. They said they are looking into it, so they will be trying to figure that out down the road. So if you're watching this, which I'm putting this out in December 2022, the very end of it, they are looking into that, so be aware of that. Also, maybe a bigger bucket seat as well, or something that has less to do with the shoulders and maybe more around the rib cage, or maybe around the top of their head, like what Track Racer's done. They are looking into that, so guys, be aware of that. Don't come at them for that. They honestly don't. They are doing a dang good job right now, just trying to work with suggestions and work with people and trying to get their equipment out as much as they can during these holiday seasons, as well as everything going on. But yeah, that is the overall stuff here. What does it come with? Again, the base itself is just the bars that go on the bottom and around the side here. If you get the shifter arm, which you really highly recommend, that'll actually be a big plus for you. Do that, and then you really need to get that shifter mount, in my opinion, because that will foolproof and future-proof this thing for a very long time. Very much worth it and very much needed. So yeah, it came with the aluminum bars, the aluminum rig itself, the bottom plates for your seat, so you can pretty much mount anything you want on it. It's very obviously it's aluminum profile, so you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. Came with a pedal deck, and that's came with all the screws and nuts and bolts and everything. It actually came in packaged really well. That's one thing I'll say Six Sigma did an extremely good job of, is they packaged everything to a T beautifully. No scratches, no nothing on mine. I have seen reviews that said they had a few scratches from light wear on there. Mine never did. I had seen nothing of consequence, or nothing that I did personally down the road that messed it up. So no issues here on the rig. It is pretty much built solid, built tight. It has T-nuts and these wrench nuts as well you're going to be using. You bolt them in, so you have to make sure that when you are doing this, and this will be where I get into the cons in a second, but you need to make sure these T-nuts are into each slot individually when your time has come to put them together. So what I recommend is, when I should have done this, was get the T-nuts and slots opened up enough to where you can actually just kind of slide them into the profile, and then if you need to, maybe leave a few extras just in case for down the road. That honestly will help you out tremendously, and it'll be a big help to you. So that is my suggestion to you guys, is to work around that. Other than that, though, putting this together with the rules and instructions, it was for me. I suck at construction. I do. I have no idea how to put things together, let alone try to actually do something right or know how to put everything properly together. I never had a single trouble with this thing, other than the seat, which my best friend helped me out with. So thank God to them for helping me, figure out, like, hey, this is where you're supposed to put it in. This is how you're supposed to actually put it on. So that was my own fault. That was my own undoing. And a good friend of mine also figured out how to put this recline seat on properly. And once I got the measurements down, that's when everything figured out. So, but that then now brings me into my cons, which is the cons of this machine is, because it is aluminum profile rig, and it is honestly a more eccentric sim racing rig where you actually have to put things in certain spots, certain areas. I had a few times where I would make a slight mistake on how to measure out my equipment, measure out my stuff. So when I first got this, and you saw it live, I actually didn't even have the shifter arm on, and I actually had made the side plates here on the actual wheel itself actually kind of bolt back and forth. Now, again, that was if I put extreme pressure on it, but if I didn't do that, it didn't do that at all. So the shifter arm, in my opinion, was the biggest selling point and biggest help for me there. I should have done that in the first place. That was my own undoing. That's not on anything on the company. I will say, though, as well, that the company itself, this is kind of back to a pro, they are customer service-wise tremendous. They're great at working with me right there and then. So I've seen Reddits and I've seen views of them saying they're hard to work with. They're honestly not, guys. If you give them a second time like any other company, they get right with you as soon as they can. And they're desperately and hard working as much as they can to get everything dialed in. They're really doing a great job over there. So, but back to the cons, though. Again, the rig itself is extremely good, but even I have a little bit of a con with it, which is I still had to get used to it from a Placey challenge. And again, this isn't something that is on them, this is again on me, which is, if you're switching from another rig like a Placey challenge where you're so comfortable and everything was good, to then swapping to something like this where you got to completely adjust, make sure you're set right, make sure you got everything good, you're getting used to the shifter and all that, that is something you need to be very well aware of. It happened to me. I don't know if it'll be your same case scenario, but this is something just be aware of, that don't get frustrated with the rig itself unless you know for sure you did something wrong in the measurements, like I did for I don't know how long, for like almost like 2 or 3 weeks. I was constantly measuring things out, making sure I was lined up, and then finally, once everything was done, that was good to go. That is one thing you have to be aware of and you need to be ready to do, is get the measurements properly done the first time and then give it time. Get settled into the rig, get settled in everything. As soon as I took 2 days after I got everything finally measured out, it was almost like I was sitting in an actual race car, my own brother's race car that we used to drive, and I was in love with it from there. And I constantly am in love with it. I still jump into it literally every day, once at least. I'll just throw on a race or something, I'll put myself in it, I'll go for a little ride or whatever. It doesn't matter. I do it all the time. But again, like I said, that is something you need to be aware of. That is something you need to be very full comprehensive of. So give it time. Don't let the rig beat you out take your time with the rig. And again, that goes for the cons too, is it does take a time or two. It actually took me about 6 hours to put everything together with this after I read the instructions. And again, that was just because I wanted to make sure I did it right. So be well aware of that. It takes time to build this thing. That is a bit of a con compared to, like, say, one of the next level racings or track racer stuff. You could just simply slide them in the slots and then you're done. You're good. Then within like an hour. This will take time. That is a con. I hate to admit it, but give it time. You'll be okay. But other than that, there's really nothing cons-wise I can think of that is something that is a deal breaker for me. This thing, for the price and everything I spent on it, I think it was like over only $700 with everything I spent on the rig itself, which I did the math with anything from Next Level or Track Racer, and that could have been easily over $1,000 I spent. I did not spend nearly that much, and I am absolutely in love with this thing. It really is feels like my own personal rig that I've now made my own style. From the way my button box is, to the way my shifter is, the way my pedal deck and my wheel is, and everything there, the way I feel in my seat, how comfy I am right now. I don't feel like this isn't my own personal device, like I created. It feels like something that is my coup de grace, if you will, I guess, is the best way I can explain it. It really made me fall back in love with why I love racing and why I love the feeling it gives me in so many regards and so many levels. So, but again, guys, that's really about it. Again, if you do enjoy this video, then you want to see more reviews, again, I'm going to bring in that one for my little friend here, the Fanatec H-Pattern / sequential shifter, and I also give my friends D-Dub Button Boxes a quick review as well in the future. But if you want to see more reviews or want to see some live streams, then feel free to like and follow us up here on YouTube end, and thank you so much for watching. And again, to Six Sigma Sim Racing out there, thank you so much for working with me through all this here on this rig. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you guys and get everything figured out on this rig. I will make sure, though, that as well aware this is not a sponsored video. Again, I'll put a little thing on the front there. I probably already did or not, but this is not sponsored. They did not provide this to me. All this in review is of my own opinion. Nothing is said, but like I said, my own opinion. You can take it for what it is. I'm absolutely in love with this thing from the tee. I would highly recommend it. It's a 10 out of 10 by far. It's amazing to have, guys. There's no reason why you shouldn't have one. So anyway, that's it for sure this time. I know I ramble on, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.